So I'm going to read some quotes that I pulled, equanimity quotes. Equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and ill will. Equanimity means that we already have enough insight so that nothing seems worth getting worked up over anymore. Seeing the world with quiet eyes. There is no higher happiness than peace. Equanimity gives us a taste of that. So, when I was looking for these quotes, I started to question, and this was my question is, how did equanimity get into such a superior position? And I do love it when I can see the world with quiet eyes. But how helpful is that to hear when my eyes aren't quiet? So putting something, a quality, a person, a practice, into a superior position, what does that do to it? What does that do to us? Does it make other states of mind or other qualities or other teachings inferior? Does it skew the Dharma into our own personal preferences? Or does it maybe give us something to push back on and resist and struggle with so we can carve it out and make it our own? So I'm going to talk about the conceits, the Buddhist conceits, along with this teaching of equanimity. The Pali word is mana for a Buddhist conceit, and it's translated as pride, arrogance, or conceit. And it's defined as an inflated mind that makes whatever its object, such as wealth, learning, another person, ourselves, to be this foundation of pride and ownership. So we have the teaching of the conceits in Buddhism as the three conceits: the better than conceit, the worse than conceit, or the equal to conceit. And all are considered a pride or something that we own, that we're better than something, that we're worse than it, than we're equal to it. So I've often related those conceits to people, to myself, looking at myself in that way or looking at others in that way, but I hadn't really considered taking the conceits into the teachings. It just started to kind of be something I'm thinking about with looking at the way equanimity is always given this kind of superior position. So I feel like we've inherited that superiority through the translations and through even our culture of really this desire to be non-reactive and to be, not so histrionic or emotional. And that this has gotten passed down, and it's the way we teach each other about teachings. So I went to a book that I got a long time ago and haven't read much of. It was Bhikkhu Analayo, and it's called The Superiority Conceit in Buddhist Traditions. And it's a historical view. So I'm just going to take one little bit. One of the things I like about writing a Dharma talk is it really kind of puts me back into looking at some teachings that I haven't refreshed my views on, or books that I have on my shelf and I haven't really re-looked at them for a while. So this is one paraphrase from his book. It's a form of bondage to look down upon others, other teachings, as deviant from a true path. It's by letting go of arrogance and abandoning conceit that one becomes a better Buddhist meditator person, no matter what tradition you follow. So when something's considered superior, it catches, though. It catches like wildfire. It becomes a fad. It becomes the right way to do things. So what happens when you question that wildfire, that fad, that right way? In reflective meditation, that's a direction that we encourage. And we often have to assert our understanding of something when it's not in the superior position, because it's not mainstream. And we have to counter something, counter that mainstream interpretation, because otherwise you're in the inferior position or you're not considered or taken seriously. And I think this may be one reason why our practice doesn't grow far and wide, or doesn't catch on like wildfire, or it hasn't become a fad. It's really been more of a slow, steady practice. And then I went, oh, that's one of our translations of equanimity, slow and steady. Like, is this a practice that is developing equanimity in that way? And I loved the parallel, of course. But I also added in another translation of my own of equanimity, which is equalizing. And looking at the way, equalizing is also one of the conceits here. So the equanimity and equal, they're both derived from Latin, because of course I looked them up. And they do have this meaning in Latin of being leveled, of everything being kind of in one playing field. And then they combined it with mind and put it as an even mind. And that's often the common translation from the internet, an even mind. But when we're looking at a teaching as even and placing it within the conceits, I wanted to consider, there's other Brahma Viharas. There's compassion. There's equanimity. We're talking about equanimity. There's appreciative joy. There's loving kindness. And when you start to compare those, it started to feel ludicrous. Like, why would I be comparing one as better than the other, another as not as worth as much, or one state of mind that doesn't have any of those Brahma Viharas is not important or not valid. And we really have gone in the direction with reflective meditation as considering all the states of mind, the variety of states of mind, important to describe and to get to know and to come into the fold. So I have wondered in the past about this conceit of being equal to. How is that considered a conceit? And the traditional way of looking at it is, if you do a comparison and you're comparing somebody else as equal to you, you actually think you're both really good and you're a little better. So this is the inherited, traditional view we've gotten. But I'm also going to extend it to another way that I've been thinking about it, is that it is a type of conceit to consider that we're all in the same boat, that we all have the equal opportunity or equal chances or equal conditions. And that our practice really counters this. When you start to hear somebody talk about their meditation, you can see how their conditions are different, unequal, not the same, maybe overlapping, maybe similar. But it really kind of helps wear away the conceit that we're all in the same boat. We all have equal ... So in our book, Reflective Meditation, Cultivating Kindness and Curiosity in the Buddhist Company, we say, get into a relationship with, we say dukkha. We're all in a relationship with dukkha. But I want to extend it this morning as to get into a relationship with the teachings, with the teaching of equanimity, with the teaching on the conceits. That if you get into a relationship with the teachings, your relationship will change to those teachings over time. And when I first heard the teaching of equanimity, I had one impression of it and I took it in a certain way. And over the years, it's changed. So you'll develop your own history with the teachings, your own thoughts and opinions, how relevant the teaching is for you and how important it can be. And I'll posit that by doing so, the teachings within you will grow and change over time. So I'll end my Dharma talk here.